Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Tanks. Today we are going to be doing a post-commentary video, kind of rare for me. And I will just note quickly before anybody clicks off, because you're like, you haven't completed the missions, Max. This is on my second account we are viewing right now, because for whatever reason, once you have completed the missions, you can't actually see the requirements for them anymore. So I have completed all of these missions on my main account. I just can't see them, so I need to talk through them on my second. But today I'm going to be giving you guys some tips, some tricks and recommendations on how to complete the personal missions, the third campaign of personal missions. I'm going to break this down into 6 videos. We're going to cover the Dravec and the Black Rock, and each video is going to cover one section of missions. So today we will be doing the Dravec Vanguard missions. If you want recommendations on the Windhund, unfortunately, I'm not going to do these personally. I think the missions are all fairly self-explanatory and relatively easy. There are other resources out there if you want to complete those, or if you really want to know from me, then pop by my stream and ask me, and I'll be more than happy to explain it live. However, I'm going to focus starting with the Dravec. As this is the first video in this series, guys, please do leave me some feedback in the comments, whether you like it, whether you enjoy it, stuff like that. Like I say, this will be the first video. We'll do the 3 on the Dravec and then the 3 on the Black Rock. They might be a bit little spaced out because I still haven't actually completed the very last Black Rock missions yet, so I will wait until I do it before I give recommendations on those. But let's jump in. So, for today's video, we're going to be doing the Vanguard mission for the Dravec. First point to point out is that you need to complete every single mission 2 times. This needs to be in 2 different vehicles, so bear that in mind when you are playing through. All 15 missions are the same and will need this. Starting with Vanguard 1 for the Dravec. Be the top player on your team by damage caused and destroy an enemy heavy tank. For this, honestly, you just want to play vehicles that you are comfortable in and that you play well in. Something like, for me personally, something like the T125, the Object 260, if you want to go down lower tiers, the T832, Renegade, anything like that. Honestly, any tank that are in these categories that you are comfortable with, if you prefer tank destroyers, you prefer medium tanks, it doesn't matter. Just pick something that you're comfortable with and you do well in, and you will get top player on your team by damage caused at some point. I know that's not maybe the greatest insight, but honestly, just play something you play well in. For the destroy the enemy heavy tank part of the mission, I would recommend taking the vehicle to the more brawling parts of a map, so whether that be to the city, to the town areas, wherever the heavy tanks brawl out, because obviously that will give you the best chance of finding an enemy heavy tank and being able to destroy them. Vanguard number 2 for the Dravec. Cause damage to enemy heavy tanks by shooting them 8 times. Cause 1,500 HP of damage to enemy heavy tanks. This is a very similar kind of summary to the first one. Firstly, I would recommend playing a tank that you enjoy playing, that you find quite fun playing. 1,500 HP of damage to heavy tanks is not too difficult. It's not too bad. I would recommend playing something slightly higher tier, either tier 9, tier 10 or tier 11, because 1,500 damage at lower tiers, 7 and 8, can be somewhat tricky to some players, especially if you're not so confident in doing a load of damage, and at tier 8, 1,500 damage exclusively to heavy tanks can be a problem for some people. So I'd recommend tier 9, tier 10 or tier 11. For the cause damage to enemy heavy tanks by shooting them 8 times, I would recommend something with a slightly faster reload. Again, we're talking something like Super Conqueror, T125, something along those lines, something that's relatively low alpha but has got that high rate of fire. However, if you do want to kind of cheese this mission a little bit, this can be done just by shooting high explosive. You do not actually need to penetrate the enemy vehicles, just cause damage. So if you've already done your 1,500 HP of damage and you are struggling, switch to HE and just shoot them the remaining number of times that you need, and that should complete the mission. For Vanguard 3, destroy 3 enemy vehicles of 3 different types, or cause 500 HP of damage by ramming. Personally, I think the ramming part of this mission is so much easier, especially if you have something like a K91, KR1, IS7. 500 ramming damage is really not too bad. You've also got things like KV5, the E50 series of tanks as well. as long as they're Vanguard. I can't actually remember off the top of my head. You guys know which tanks do well for ramming. 500 is not a crazy amount of HP to do. Obviously, bear in mind if you are struggling a little bit, crew skills such as controlled impact help, turbo equipment, stuff like that. Shouldn't be too difficult. If you do want to do the destroy 3 enemy vehicles of 3 different types, honestly, it's going to be the 3 different types that is going to trip you up. Personally, if you can get a light tank or an SPG kill, the other 3 classes, there are plenty enough of them that you should be able to get at least 2 of those. So maybe at the start of the game, try to focus on killing a light tank and then go from there. Again, if you move towards a heavier brawling part of the map, there's usually heavy tanks and usually some TDs or heavier mediums. So it honestly shouldn't be too difficult. Vanguard 4. Cause 3,250 HP of damage to enemy vehicles, or block 2,000 HP of damage whilst you are stationary. Honestly, again, for the top one, for the damage one, play a tank you're comfortable in. I would recommend it as high a tier as possible, as it is an out-and-out damage number. And obviously, there are more hit points available, higher alphas, everything like that. So for me, with this, again, I'm picking something like Object 260, BZ79, BZ75. Something that I'm just comfortable playing. Something that I'm going to do well in, T175, something like that. It's not too high of a requirement. Most people should be able to do this at least in one game. I would recommend steering clear of the block mission on this one. Block 2,000 HP of damage whilst your vehicle is stationary. The 2,000 HP is honestly not that difficult, and you may think, well, that's not that bad, Max. Why are you saying don't do it? It's the whilst your vehicle is stationary is the bit where, for me, this falls down. Blocking damage, the best way to do it is by wiggling, by moving backwards and forwards a little bit, trying to bait enemy tanks into bouncing off your vehicle. While stationary eliminates all of that. Most of the time, people are going to be given time to aim at your weak spots. It becomes a lot more challenging. Outside of that, you could say, well, I'll play something like an IS-7, hold down, really not many weak spots to aim at. You've got to remember, you still need to block the damage, therefore people still need to fire at you. Most people will not shoot a perfectly angled mouse, a hold down IS-7 where they know they have no chance. Obviously there are exceptions to this, but it does make it slightly difficult. I personally, just playing well and doing the 3,250 damage is much easier. Vanguard 5, destroy an enemy vehicle during the first 4 minutes of the battle and cause 1,500 HP of damage during the first 4 minutes of the battle. Before any of you pick your fastest tank and wildly push massively into the fight and get killed in the first 2 minutes, do not panic with this one. This one, because it says in the first 4 minutes, everybody is going to go, oh, I need to get it really quickly, need to go. Remember that nowadays, the majority of battles don't last much longer than 5 or 6 minutes. You're talking at least in the majority of battles, that is half of the time in the game for you to do this mission. So do not rush in, just play normally. Basically, this mission is get a kill and do 1,500 damage. It's not that difficult, guys. Again, probably would recommend against playing a super heavy because you are really slow. Obviously, it gives you a lot less flexibility. However, 4 minutes is still a really long time for this mission. You do not need to panic. Take your time. Just make sure you get the damage done. Pick that kill up. Should be not too difficult. For Vanguard Mission 6, we have cause 3,500 HP of damage to enemy vehicles and destroy an enemy vehicle within the view range of your vehicle. Wow, that's a lot of vehicles. This one, again, I kind of feel silly for consistently saying this. Higher tier tanks, you want a 9, 10, or 11, again, because it is a number of HP. You want to be as high as possible for that higher alpha and more HP left in the game. And destroying an enemy vehicle within the view range of your vehicle. Honestly, that's not too difficult. Even take something that has very terrible view range, like 370, something like that. That's still a lot of room for maneuver. This mission, personally, again, I would just take a heavy tank that you enjoy and take it towards the brawling part of the map, whether that be a town, city, something like that. Just go to where there's lots of tanks in a relatively close space, and you don't even need to worry about the within the view range. Just play relatively well, and you should be okay with this. Vanguard Mission 7, Damage and Block, have the total damage caused and damage blocked by armor equal to or exceeding 3 times the hit points of your vehicle. Now, for this one, this is actually kind of the opposite to Vanguard 6. I would recommend with this doing it at a lower tier because it is times the number of hit points of your vehicle. Playing something like a mouse, playing something like a Type 5 Heavy, 3 times your hit points, you're looking at 9, 10, 11,000 damage that you need to do. I would recommend scale that right back, come down tier 7 or tier 8. Personally, for me, tier 8, because you have more ability to do damage as well. Everything has slightly higher alpha, so you're blocking a little bit more. For me, this mission, if you want a tech tree vehicle, the VK100 is a good tank to do it in. For a premium vehicle, I did make a video a couple of weeks back. The K2 is honestly, when it comes to blocking damage, the K2 is pretty much a cheat code, so I would recommend that. However, if you do feel confident doing 3 times the hit points of your vehicle just purely on damage is not too difficult. If you say that the average hit points of a tier 8 heavy is around 1600, you only really need to do 4800 damage. It's not impossible. If you back yourself, that is the way to go. Obviously, you can do a hybrid of both. If in a tier 8 you average about 2000 damage, then you only really need to be thinking of blocking maybe 2.5 to 3k. It's not that difficult, but I would definitely recommend doing this at a slightly lower tier. For Vanguard Mission 8, we have got cause 2000 HP of damage to enemy vehicles the same tier or higher by shooting them from a distance of 50 meters or less, or cause 4000 HP of damage to enemy vehicles. Personally, the bottom one is absolutely the way to go on this. This is far too... You're having to check if they're what tier the vehicle is. You know, you're constantly keeping an eye on the marker of how far away they are. Just do 4000 damage. I think the majority of people at tier 10 or tier 11 can do 4000 damage. Again, pick a vehicle you enjoy, something you play well, and just do the damage. If you do desperately want to do this, my recommendation, you make sure you've got the proximity detection range turned on your minimap, because that is a 50-meter circle. You know that anything within that is going to be eligible to shoot. You could play something with very high alpha, 2000 damage with like 750 alpha, 700 alpha, something like an E100, something like that. You're only having to put 3 or 4 shots in. So that would be my recommendation for that if you do want to go for this. But personally, I think the 4000 damage is just easier. Vanguard Mission 9. Earn the high caliber reward. I feel like this is one that a lot of people are kind of struggling with. Unfortunately, there is no real golden bullet for this. Silver bullet for this mission. You just need to play well. You just need to do a lot of damage. Again, I've said it so many times already, but pick a tank that you are comfortable in. Pick a tank that you play well in. Do not get disheartened if you can't do it. Obviously, the best time to do this mission is when you are in a game where you are down tiered. So say you're in a tier 8 and you're playing against tier 6s, because there is less HP overall in the game, and a high caliber is doing 20% of the hit points worth of damage done by your team to the enemy vehicles. So getting a lower tier matchup is prime opportunity for this mission. Obviously, you can't control that, so it's not a problem. Personally, I would scale this with how confident you feel in your skill. If you're not so confident, try playing lower tier. Play a tier 7, play a tier 8. Pray that you get a tier 5 or a tier 6 game respectively. It shouldn't be too bad. If you're more confident and you're happy, personally for me, playing higher tier and just playing well is a lot easier. It doesn't to be honest, it doesn't really matter. You just need to try and do well. Pick a tank you're comfortable in. Pick a tank you enjoy playing. And just remember, it will come with time. Don't panic if you don't do it in the first 5 games. Don't start getting mad that you're not doing it. Just try and keep yourself in a good place where you're playing well, and it will come in time. This is one of those missions where you just need to... just keep at it. It will come in time. Try not to get too frustrated. If you do desperately want to, there are mods that tell you how much damage and a high caliber is within each game. I would always err on the side of caution with this, because you're always going to be trying to focus on that. You're going to be focusing on, I need to do this much damage, I need to do that much damage. In my personal experience, just kind of letting it happen is a lot easier, and that is the way I'd recommend. If you don't want to install the mod, but you also want to keep an eye, you make sure you have the hit point totals turned on the damage panel at the top, the score panel at the top. Basically, divide the enemy HP by 5, and that is basically what you're aiming for. Vanguard 10 cause 4,500 HP of damage to enemy vehicles, or cause 1,500 HP of damage to immobilized enemy vehicles. So again, with the top, as I've said so many times, 4,500 damage is definitely doable, tier 10, tier 11 for the majority of people. Just pick a tank you enjoy, play well. If you really want to do one slightly lower down, cause 1,500 damage to immobilized enemy vehicles. For me, pick something with higher alpha. So you're talking your E100s, your BZs, something like that. The reason being, you're more likely to be able to take the track off an enemy vehicle within one shot. Also, if you're playing something like 750 alpha, this is only 2 shots to do, or if you low roll, 3 shots to do. I believe that this mission does count if you shoot somebody in the track. As the shell goes through their tracks first before doing damage, it actually counts as you immobilizing them first and then causing damage. So you just need to try and aim for drive wheels. And honestly, this mission, not too hard on this. Again, personally, if you're a slightly better player and you're not really that bothered, just do the top one. It's really, really, really not that difficult. But the bottom one is there if you do struggle. Vanguard 11. Destroy 3 enemy vehicles from a distance of 100 meters or less. For this one, I'd recommend picking something, again, with relatively high alpha for the tier. This is something that you can do across all of the tiers, 7, 8, 9, 10, or 11. Pick something that you prefer. Honestly, for the majority of people, it's probably going to be easier at tier 7 because, you know, statistically, there are less good players playing around there. The ability to mop up kills. I'd recommend playing something with higher alpha damage, just so you've got a lot more range in which to destroy enemy vehicles. Say you're playing at tier 8, something with 400 alpha, there's a lot more tanks that are going to be left on less than 400 HP than playing with something, for example, with 240 or 250 alpha, where you're relying on other people to kind of shoot vehicles to get them low enough to be able to secure the kill. Again, 100 meters or less, play in a brawling location or on a ridgeline where a lot of people go. It's entirely up to you how you want to play it, but go somewhere where it's a brawling fight, like a town or a ridgeline, like, you know, North on Westfield, something like that. Just go to where people go and typically sit quite close together. Obviously, don't go and try and snipe, but to be honest, with these types of vehicles, you're probably not going to be anyway. Vanguard 12 cause 3,500 HP of damage to enemy medium tanks or tank destroyers, or block 2,000 HP of damage from enemy medium tanks or tank destroyers. This one is a little annoying, I won't lie, because it's exclusively mediums and TDs. You've got 2 different ways to approach this, either of these, whether you want to go for damage or whether you want to block. Again, I would recommend playing higher tier because alphas are higher, so that's going to help with both of these missions. If you want to go down the block route, ideally you're going to be looking at the enemy team's composition. If they have a lot of tanks like Jagdpanzer E100s, Badgers, things like that, probably go towards the heavy fight, because most likely you're going to get the enemy tank destroyers go towards the heavy fight. Obviously, you do need to be aware that if it comes to blocking, tank destroyers have higher penetration, so be aware of that. If they have a lot of medium tanks, maybe take a heavy to the medium tank flank, to where typically more mediums go. Honestly, there is nothing wrong with this, and you'll probably get a couple of messages in chat from your team, oh my god, noob heavy, where are you going? Ignore them. Don't worry about it. They're idiots. Just go. Try and dominate the medium flank. It honestly shouldn't be too difficult. For 3,500 damage, kind of a similar gig. I would probably recommend going more towards where your mediums go. You're going to do some damage to them, brawl with the mediums first, and then usually, typically, if you haven't quite done enough damage, there will be a couple of tank destroyers towards the end of the game that are sitting in sniping locations that you can then pick a couple of extra shots up on. Honestly, again, for the damage, pick a tank you're comfortable with. For blocking, it's kind of up to you. I would probably recommend, again, you're talking higher tier tanks, so your mouse, your type 5, stuff like that if you want to. Or if you want to play something more like an Object 260 or an IS-7, taking it more towards a medium flank location where you can just block damage, try and sit hull down, block damage, and just brawl like that. Vanguard 13, destroy 3 enemy heavy or medium tanks, or cause 3,500 HP of damage to enemy heavy or medium tanks. Honestly, I really don't like these missions where it specifies which tanks you have to shoot, because you full well know that when you click battle, having activated this mission, you are going to get 2 teams full of tank destroyers, but that's not the point. For destroy 3 enemy heavy or medium tanks, again, I would probably recommend just go to a brawling flank. You do need to have a look at the team composition to start. If there are only 2 heavy tanks in the game, I probably wouldn't go to where the heavies go, maybe go to where the mediums are. It's just going to be easy. Again, for destroying enemy vehicles, I'd recommend taking something with higher alpha. It means that you don't have to rely so much on the enemy not taking too much damage and getting down to low HP before you can one-shot them. Picking up kills with higher alpha is a lot easier. I would recommend for destroying vehicles, play autoloaders, but the majority of autoloaders aren't in the Vanguard category. They are in the ambush category, so obviously when I cover that, we will come on to it. For cause 3,500 HP of damage, again, I would probably just recommend on this one, take your favourite heavy, your favourite brawling heavy, and go to where the heavy tanks go. Again, if the team composition isn't so kind to you, forget about it, wait till the next game, or you can go to where the more medium tanks go, although I probably wouldn't recommend this in something like an E100 or a Type 5, something like that, where it's traditionally, it takes a lot longer to get there. Don't worry too much about it. Ignore that game and just, go for the next game. Vanguard 14, cause 3,500 HP of damage to enemy vehicles that hit your vehicle. This seems like it could be a problem. Honestly, in my experience with doing this mission, it's fairly easy. You just want to brawl. You just want to go, again, to where the heavy tanks go, get involved in a medium fight. It's honestly not too bad. Picking a tank that trades well is quite nice. So either a tank that's got high rate of fire, lower alpha, where for every time you get hit, you're putting 2 or 3 shots into the enemy vehicle, or vice versa, take something with high alpha, and every time you take a hit, you're doing more in return. Either. Remember, you do not have to take damage from the enemy vehicle. That is a very key point. If you just block a shot from an enemy vehicle, that then makes you eligible to do damage to them. So you don't need to worry about openly driving out sideways and taking damage. Just try and block a shot if you can, and then work that vehicle down. Honestly, this mission, like I say, don't stress about it too much. It's a lot easier than it seems. If you just put yourself in the right brawling situation, there are going to be so many opportunities. You don't need to drive out sideways at the start, take a bunch of damage, and then try and do damage in return. Just kind of play your normal game. Maybe if you can, if there's a tank that you haven't taken a hit from and you want to shoot back, try and bait him into shooting you first. Obviously, try and bait him into blocking, you bouncing the shot. But honestly, it is not too difficult. And finally, for Vanguard 15, cause, receive, and block a total of 9,000 HP of damage. Obviously, as I've said for several of these missions, personally, this one, you want to be playing a high tier vehicle because it is a damage number. If you play a mouse, a Type 5, E100, Panzer 7, something along those lines, you're already looking at about 3,000 HP. Obviously, the receive part of that means that if you die, you've already done a third of the mission. It then becomes not that difficult. Playing something like that, I think I did it in the Tashin Rat because, again, massively high amounts of HP. Also, the tanks that are going to be shooting at you have higher alpha, so if you do block a shot, it contributes a lot more. Personally, for me, on this, you want to play a super heavy that you are comfortable playing. Probably E100 big gun. I personally would focus on causing more damage here, playing tier 10 or tier 11. Doing 5,000-6,000 damage is not really out the question for me. Obviously, in that regard, if I do 5,000-6,000 damage and die, you're pretty much there. You only need to block 1 or 2 shots. And playing a super heavy, usually you'll at least block 1 or 2, so it's not too bad. Again, I'd recommend kind of going towards a heavy tank flank and just brawling. Just remember to try and, you know, if it's looking like the game's pretty much won, just try and take a bit of damage. Let someone do a bit of damage to you if you're getting close, something like that. I would recommend, again, and I've said this several times, sitting in a hull down IS-7 is probably not the best way to go to do this mission. Make sure you're playing a tank that people at least have a chance to pen. Firstly, if they do pen you, it counts towards the mission. Secondly, they're more likely to shoot you and bounce. Playing a hull down IS-7, a hull down T110E3. At this point, the game is 15 years old. A lot of these tanks have been in the game for a long time. People know that they have no chance to pen and will not shoot you. This isn't going to help you. You're not going to block damage. You're not going to take damage. And a lot of the times in those positions, they're also sitting in a fairly strong position. You're not going to be able to hit them in return. So that is not going to help this mission. Pick something like a mouse. Learn how to angle the turret. The E100, people try and aim for the top bar. Try and go through your cheeks. The Type 5, as an example, just wiggle a lot. There are several weak spots on that tank that people will aim for and hopefully bounce off. But this one, like I say, you just want to play something, again, that you're relatively comfortable in. The higher the tier, the better, and the higher the hit points, the better, because it just gives you that start. And yeah, that is all of the Vanguard missions for the Dravec. I hope that some of these tips come in handy and helpful. I know I haven't necessarily recommended specific tanks for a lot of the missions, because a lot of the missions in this category are genuinely where it's just cause damage, where it's, you know, high caliber, things like that. You just need to pick a tank that you are comfortable in playing and that you traditionally do quite well in. Whether it's the most overpowered tank in the game, great. If it's the most underpowered tank in the game, but you know you play it well and you do well in it, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. A lot of the rest of the missions, they will come in time. And this is definitely something that, do as I say, not as I do. A lot of these missions, don't panic if you don't do them first game or first 5 games. They will come in time. They are not overly difficult for the majority of players. Don't panic. Don't start putting yourself in weird situations, because a lot of these can just be done through playing relatively normally. There's not many where you have to specifically adapt what you're doing to complete them. Like the 4-minute one, you don't need to rush in. A lot of them, don't worry, they will come in time. But yeah, that is all she wrote for this video. I hope you have found this in any way useful, or it's going to inspire you to do the missions in any way, shape or form. But as I said at the top of the video, please let me know in the comments what you think. Give me any feedback, anything like that. And I will take it into consideration when we do the ambush and assistance missions for the Dravec. And then once I've completed the BlackRock missions on my main account, I will probably cover those as well. So thank you all so much for watching. Make sure you give the video a like if you've got this far and you're not already. Please make sure you subscribe. And outside of that, thank you so much for watching, guys. And I'll see you next time.